Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Calling All Creatures. I'm your host, Lori, and tonight we have a informative podcast, I guess you might say. We're actually going to be talking about some pet supplements to help with your pet's mobility and joints and stuff like that, using CBD and stuff and some other ingredients. And I have the company is Enhanced Vet Sciences. And I have Reed Parr, who is the co-founder and now director of EVS, on the podcast with me. And he's going to hopefully fill us in on all this really cool stuff that his company's doing. So, Reed, thank you for being on the podcast tonight. I really appreciate you joining me to talk about your supplements.
Well, thank you, Lori, for having me. And, yeah, it's good to be on with you.
So let's just start out, and maybe we can just learn a little bit more about you. Maybe you could just kind of tell us what maybe your background is like, in the industry. I mean, are you just like an entrepreneur that just got started? Have you been doing this for a while? Have you been in the industry of making products for animals and pets and stuff like that, or maybe something different that just kind of, and you just kind of went this way?
Yeah, so I have a marketing background, and kind of throughout the last 20 years, I'm in my mid-40s now, but I've always had like a passion for health sciences, and I've always kind of been involved in health sciences projects. I am an entrepreneur. Mostly what I've done is e-commerce based, but my business partner Mike and his wife Lisa, they have a bit longer of a history in hemp. For me, it's been not only the hemp product, but into pet products and all of that. For me, it's about, I guess, 7 years now. And for them, Mike actually started his own pet company making all natural chews about 30 years ago, I think. Took it to be an international company, and he ended up selling it off and took a break and kind of always wanted to get back into the business. And myself, I guess about 7 or 8 years ago, I was working on clinical trials of some pet-based products, cannabinoid-based products in particular. And he, got in touch with me through a friend, and the two of us connected and just both had a passion, not just for kind of making products and putting them out there, but really, finding things that are unique and that really work, and going through the process to really prove it out, right? So we got together, and after a few meetings decided that we would partner on doing some clinical trials on some cannabinoid-based products that he had in mind. He actually has kind of a cool story. Him and his wife Lisa, they saved their cat Gracie, that was having some cancer, real health issues, and was able to use some broad spectrum hemp oil to get rid of the cancer and to heal the cat. And so he that was really what opened him up to the whole thing, got him really interested in it, and what got him in touch with me. We had been doing a lot of research on the different cannabinoids and the terpenes and chlorophyll and all these different elements in hemp, and how the pharmacokinetics work in the body. And he wanted to do studies the way that you would if you were, taking a drug to market, even though that wasn't our plan. Take a drug to market, because that can't really do that the same way. It's not advantageous, you could say, to do that with this type of product. We're not a medicine. We always say we're not a medicine and we're not food. So we're classified more as as a daily pet health supplement for mobility. But the idea was to go through the process to do clinical trials, so that we can check all the boxes to be able to actually say, hey, we've done the safety to ensure that this is safe to take at, the doses we recommend. We've done the pharmacokinetic studies to show the life cycle in the body and the mechanism of how it's working, not just saying it works, but showing that the end result of it working. And, things like contraindication, palatability testing, so we can really dial in something that we know that the dogs will like. And so we kind of just got, excited, kind of geeking out on our plans. And it's obviously taken a long time to get to where we are today. But yeah, that's kind of how it all started.
Awesome. So then you guys have been in business now for about, 8 years or longer?
Yeah, it's been, it was early 2017. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So
yeah,
you've been doing this for just a little bit then?
That's right, yeah. And we've been through quite an evolution. So we originally, which kind of just started looking at CBD on its own, right? Because that's kind of what Mike had in mind originally. And, that was kind of the most popular thing, kind of the most obvious place to start. But through some of our exploratory studies, we realized that CBD on its own actually didn't work as well as when it was in this kind of more broad spectrum extract where it included other elements from the plant. So we were, through kind of this exploratory research, we were able to dial in kind of what we thought would work better, and went through a fairly long process to figure out the different strains that we wanted to produce. We ended up partnering with a really large greenhouse company in Kentucky. And Kentucky was a choice for us, mainly because of the hemp regulations that they had at the time, really friendly business environment, and also our partnership with the University of Kentucky and their veterinary sciences division, which is very well known, not only for canine, but also for equine around the United States. And so we started there, and then just, things just snowballed. So it, one thing led to another, and we ended up producing our own strains of hemp and extracting them and creating our own, we call it a BSH blend, so broad spectrum hemp blend. And what that means is that we capture everything from the plant. We use strains that have little to no THC, and we remediate it so there is non-detectable THC in it. So it's not anything related to cannabis, but it is. It does have everything else that you would get in the plant. So the precursor cannabinoids like CBG and things like that, CBD, and then also the various different types of terpenes that have a lot of benefits for not only the endocannabinoid system, but for your mitochondrial energy and for your immune system, your gut health, and so on and so forth.
Okay. So then kind of touched on a few different things there as we were going through.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. Okay. So let's kind of backtrack just a little bit and come back to where you were talking about Mike and deciding to use the CBD. So what was the reasoning that Mike had for trying to make the supplements with CBD? I mean, had he had some experience with the CBD and stuff? I mean, obviously with his cat, Gracie.
Yeah.
But other than that, had he had any other experience, or was it just because he had that experience that he kind of thought, hey, this could be a really good thing, and so that's why he kind of decided to launch in that area for the CBD?
Well, it's a good question, and I would say it's because at the time it was still very early stages for cannabinoid research in general, and most of what people knew about hemp was CBD. That was just
right.
The at the forefront of what people were researching to learn more about. It's how it's taken into the body and why it works for these different things, and it certainly does have some mechanisms, metabolically. So that means supporting various upregulation and downregulation of your immune system and your ability to for your nervous system and all kinds of things like that. But generally, its biggest benefits for us was the mobility, so reduction of inflammation for increased mobility.
Mm-hmm.
And CBD definitely does have some of those benefits, but like many beneficial compounds in nature, they've evolved alongside other compounds that they work synergistically with, right? And that was something that was fairly in its early stages of us fully understanding at that point. So CBD just seemed like the most obvious place to start,
right?
But through doing some of these exploratory studies, we were able to identify some of the other benefits that these other compounds are having. The terpenes in particular have a lot of their own anti-inflammatory and immune regulating benefits, but also they prime the receptors in the endocannabinoid system, which actually improve the uptake of CBD into the body. That was one of the really cool things that we learned. One of the reasons why having a broad spectrum formulation helps. And of course, chlorophyll is in, the green part that's in the plant is also in and of itself anti-inflammatory and has benefits for gut health and, a lot of, benefits that come with that in terms of helping break down the compounds and, help your body absorb them quicker as well.
So, I just have another question I'm going to ask you here in a minute because it kind of comes. It kind of comes after the one I'm going to ask you right now. Because I was going to ask you to maybe tell us a little bit more about your products and which animals your supplements are for. Because you kind of touched on your BSH blend and stuff like that. But why don't you go ahead and let the listeners know a little bit more about your products and which animals that we're talking about that your supplements can help.
Sounds good. Yeah, so we like to say that we're scientifically proven and that they're tasty and easy to deliver mobility, hard chews, and soft bits for daily pet health. And so that would apply to dogs and to cats. We actually did, we did do some studies on equine as well. And they were also very successful in the same ways, but we're not going to be launching those products yet. We're kind of putting that off a bit. Maybe until late this year or possibly into next year. But yeah, they're formulated for all breeds, for all sizes. So our broad spectrum hemp blend you can get in 10 milligrams per chew or per tablespoon, or in 20 milligrams or in 40 milligrams. And then we also sell a glucosamine and chondroitin formulation. And we do that because there are, pet parents, and, depending on where people are and kind of where they're not, their awareness is at or their knowledge base about hemp and the different compounds within that, these really complex organisms. Some people are just more comfortable with glucosamine and chondroitin, which have also been really well studied. Similarly, for reducing inflammation and improving mobility, which is particularly good for, pets as they age as well. And those ones we just have one, formulation for, and it works for all, dogs of all sizes.
Okay, cool.
One really cool thing about them as well is that they are freeze-dried, and
okay.
We chose to freeze-dry because we found, after doing a lot of product testing, that freeze-dried had better palatability,
right?
Which means that it preserves the flavor profile that the dogs, really gravitate towards. So it ensures that they're able to take up, the product and fully absorb it. Sometimes it can be hard to get your pet to take their supplement, and so having something that tastes really good is really important. And freeze-drying also does preserve nutrients better. It preserves shelf life and all kinds of other benefits like that. So, but definitely is a higher quality product. So there's a bit more of a process to it. It's a bit more costly to do, but by every measure that we investigated, it was far superior.
Yeah. It's funny because I had Dr. Marty Goldstein on the podcast a while back, and we were actually talking about the differences between freeze-dried supplements and food and treats over like the baked dog food and stuff, and he said it was the same thing, about the nutrients and stuff like that. It's better to do the freeze-dried than it is the baked.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it is an added process, but certainly from a business perspective, I think it for me, even just giving it to our dogs, it's I know that they're going to take it, whereas other sometimes pet health supplements that you give them, they just leave it on, they smell it and leave it on the floor, right?
Yeah.
So
So
that was the biggest thing, the palatability.
Yeah, and that's important, because I go through the process of, they're on medications, my dogs are seniors, So they're on, their medicine, and I have to give it to them in cheese and peanut butter and, the little pill pockets and, yeah. So,
Yep.
It's nice to have something that they like,
No doubt. Yeah, it's, especially if you're busy and you have lots going on. Like our household is pretty chaotic. We've got 4 kids and 2 dogs, 2 cats, and you want to make sure that you have a good program for your pets. So you're giving them everything they need, and they get the time and everything. Sometimes you need something that you just can count on and efficient.
Right.
Isn't timely, messy as well.
Yep, exactly. So.
Or something you can get your kid to do. Because I do a lot of that.
Yeah.
Add it to the toilet, right? Caring for animals is an important part of life, right?
It is, and more parents, I think, need to teach their children the benefits and the pitfalls also, of being a pet owner. I mean, there's both. I mean, pros and cons. So, and the more you can teach them, the better off they're going to be prepared to maybe have a pet when they, are adults. So, the problem is just getting them to do it.
Lessons in animals. I've owned chickens for a long time too. Actually, it's so funny, all the funny sayings that come up. As you once you get into actually caring for chickens, and they're like, "Oh, that's where that thing came from."
Oh yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah. We had chickens back when I was a kid. So I understand taking care of chickens. We had pigs, took care of those and stuff like that too, and then the dogs and yeah. So the other question I was going to actually ask you when you were talking about the different parts of the hemp plant that you can use, so and some of the other things involved in that. So with the other parts of the plant that are good for things like you said for the digestion and stuff, have you guys considered maybe branching out with other products that you can use the plant for?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we have so many ideas. There's more and more things we can do, but one thing about being in business is you don't want to try and do too many things at once because it can take away your focus, and interfere with, a slow and steady growth pattern,
Right.
And we actually did experience some of that ourselves, so just to tell you a bit more kind of about our history, once we started doing clinical trials, we realized, hey, we need to actually get some good genetics, and we need to produce them in the ways that, are ideal so that we can get the type of extract that we want. So, it can meet all of our requirements. And we, at first, were just kind of partnered with farmers, and then, it became obvious we needed to do something indoor. And so we ended up fully partnering with, we did kind of a merger with a large greenhouse company, and we ended up producing the hemp in a 2 million square foot greenhouse. Mm-hmm. And so there was a pretty steep learning curve with that. And we got involved with, doing some breeding with the genetics, and it was really necessary for where we were in our journey at the time to get a consistent supply of the genetics that we wanted to do research on, and then eventually as we refined what we wanted to do, the ones that we wanted to produce for our extract. So we did that. But eventually, once we accomplished that, and we kind of realized we didn't want to be in the farming business, it's a tall order. It's a lot to manage. So we ended up, as kind of the industry evolved as well, where to a point where you could start to, there was a lot more reliable sourcing that you could do. We ended up selling off those parts of the business and simplifying our business plan to focus more on getting the product to market. And so now we have a partner that produces the input. We can source all of those, as part of our GMP manufacturing process. And then it goes into a manufacturing partner that we have that produces the product. And then it goes over to a freeze-drying facility that we're partnered with that does that part of it for us. And at that point, it's going into retail, it goes into distribution. Whereas if it's, it's going to be for us in our Get Your Pet on Your Bag program and everything that we've been working on with direct-to-consumer. Then it goes to our fulfillment center that we have been working very closely with, that knows exactly how to print our bags with personalization features, and our bags come. We have kind of like bags that slide inside of those bags we can customize, so it makes it easy for them. But yeah, we decided to focus on that part of the business, which is really getting the product to consumers, getting through the clinical trials, and really focus on the market part of it, because, at the end of the day, doing farming and manufacturing, and also the research and development, and the marketing and the distribution was a lot to manage. So we wanted to focus. And now that the industry has matured more, it actually allows us to do that. Where back then it didn't really exist, so we had to go out there and create it for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you just gotta, do that kind of thing and do something for yourself, because sometimes things aren't out there.
That's right. Yeah, you just have to roll up your sleeves and make it happen. So it was definitely an adventure, and we definitely learned a lot.
Right.
But sometimes you take big steps forward, and you have to take a step back in order to get to the next phase too.
Yep, that's true. So you've talked, a few different times about, like your clinical trials and the research and stuff that you guys have put into your supplements. And I think you had mentioned that in your research, some of the findings were that this was better than the traditional CBD, the findings you had on that.
The broad spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah, the BSH blend, we call it.
Right. So you guys are saying that that's better than that traditional CBD is, because it offers a bit more than what the traditional does, correct?
Correct, yeah. I would say there's three main components that are all working synergistically together. So you've got obviously the cannabinoids. So you've got CBD, which is the predominant one. And then there are a whole bunch of other, analogs or precursors to CBD. So they're kind of similar to CBD, but they have different names. CBG is a common one, CBN, things like that. But those, work through the receptors in the endocannabinoid system. And your endocannabinoid system is like a go-between between your immune system and your nervous system. So it can help regulate the nervous system, the adrenals, the hormones. It can also help your body upregulate and downregulate your immune response. So for people or for animals that have, let's say, autoimmune tendencies where their immune system's overworking, it can bring it into homeostasis. And if you have a low immunity, it can help in that regard as well. So the other, I think, class of compounds, I would say in order of what has the most impact, probably the cannabinoids would be the number one. The number two would be the terpenes. Triterpenes are volatile compounds that are in the plant that are produced by the plant. Very interestingly, hemp is a dioecious plant, so it has male and female characteristics. We have male plants and female plants. And the female plants produce these terpenes to, signal to the male plant, certain things as part of their breeding process. But also they're used kind of for other functions, so like for repelling pests and things like that. And also all kinds of other metabolic functions for the plant. It's really quite intricate. There's so much to learn in that realm. But one thing we found that the triterpenes do in the body is that they prime the receptors in the endocannabinoid system and improve the uptake of CBD. So it improves the effectiveness of it.
Okay.
And they themselves also have anti-inflammatory capabilities. And interestingly, they also have they stimulate your mitochondria, so they're good for your cellular energy. So that's another way that it's, let's say, helping with things like cancer and stuff like that. Part of it is the anti-inflammatory, part of it is the immune regulation, and then, part of it is that piece as well.
Wow. Okay. That's
And
pretty.
then I guess I'll just say the last is the chlorophyll, which is pretty common. I mean, a lot of people, a lot of pet parents would give chlorophyll, as a supplement on its own to, help with reducing inflammation, helping the absorption of certain nutrients, and improve certain digestive functions. But yeah, it also has a lot of health benefits. And so the chlorophyll that is in the plant also is beneficial. I would say most importantly for helping the body break down the compounds that are, in the broad spectrum hemp and absorbing it into the bloodstream.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's, good to know those kinds of things, when it comes to, how your supplements are helping. So, and I think you had touched on, that stuff a little earlier, but I thought we could kind of go into it just a little bit so we could talk about it a little bit more. So, you also mentioned earlier, so you have your BSH blend is like the maximum strength, correct? And then you have a GC blend? I'm not sure.
Glucosamine and chondroitin.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you had mentioned that blend or not. So, and I know you were talking about the BSH blend and some of the
different strength.
Yeah, and how and the differences in how it helps, but is that like the only real kind of difference between the two is in the strength of it or the potency of it?
Yeah, well, the BSH blend, the broad spectrum hemp blend, we have in different strengths for the different size pets. So we do a 10 milligram, which would be for smaller dogs and cats, right? And then we have the 20 milligram and the 40 milligram, which is, really just for larger, medium or larger size pets. And then the glucosamine and chondroitin they're also very well studied. I would say for much longer than broad spectrum hemp, going back to the 90s really. And I think, I know in fact that my partner Mike, he was involved in, some stuff going on back in the 90s, some of the trials that were going on around glucosamine back then as well. And as that's evolved, they've done a lot of studies showing the benefits of glucosamine and chondroitin together.
Oh yeah, I mean I give it to my dogs for their, helps with their joints and stuff.
Yes, yeah, it's really good anti-inflammatory, really good at just reducing inflammation throughout the body in general. And so a lot of pet parents out there just have a lot more comfort and, existing knowledge and kind of built-in marketing around glucosamine and chondroitin. Whereas with the, the BSH blend, it does require, for some people, a bit more education around it, right?
Okay.
So it's great for us to be able to talk about it here on the podcast, of course, because that helps. But, we like to offer the glucosamine and chondroitin because some people, that's what they're comfortable with, and that's what they're looking for.
Right.
And it does fit really well into what we're doing. Of course, having a really high quality mobility chew that's freeze dried, formulated in the way that we do it with glucosamine and chondroitin as well.
Right. So, with your supplements, what are some of the benefits that our pets will see from them, and just how quickly can people expect to see results in their pets?
Yeah, it's a good question. Because to be honest, the results can vary in that regard, and it's interesting because I'll tell you anecdotally, when I give it to my dog, I notice it within the first hour. It's usually about an hour. You'll notice it just has a calming effect. It's a little bit more calm and regulated. That's the first thing you'll notice. And I find that after a period of time, so I have a dog that's 8. She's a Labradoodle. Her name's Dottie. And, her back legs, as we've gotten older, she can't quite jump and run on the beach as easily as, or out in the park if we're hiking or something like that. She can't. Sometimes she struggles with her hind legs. Mm-hmm. And so after about, I would say, the second day of taking it, we started to notice a difference where she was really playing more vigorously with our 3-year-old pup, with Luna. So that's what I would say anecdotally. But I'll say that in the trials that we did pharmacokinetic studies, and what that does is, so they put it into the animal, and then they do blood tests, after 1 hour, 2 hours, 6 hours, after 12 hours, after 24, so on and so forth, and they keep doing that for a period of weeks. And what we found is that the most optimum effects from the broad spectrum hemp blend, they peak out, within a 4 to 6 hours, like within 4 to 6 hours. So usually it takes about an hour to fully digest and for the effects to come on, and then, between 4 and 6 hours is when it starts to taper off. But interestingly, some of the benefits and some of the compounds do stay in the system for upwards of 21 days.
Oh, wow.
So there is a residual benefit that does last well beyond that kind of peak or optimum time frame of that 4 to 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And, it does start to compound, where you start to have, as time goes on, so let's say after 2 weeks, you'll notice a lot more, the benefits than, let's say, on the first day, but you still are going to notice some benefits, quite a significant difference even just within the first, day or two.
Right. And of course it'll differ with every dog, I'm sure, too. So.
That's right. And a lot of that has to do with what's going on in their digestive system, because,
yep.
If they have a lot of inflammation in the gut, then, that can affect some of the absorption. And, certainly, usually when you have a lot of inflammation in the gut, you've got a lot of inflammation throughout the body, which means that there's a lot more work to do to bring the inflammation down.
Right.
So it can definitely take longer in that case.
Right. So I wanted to talk about, because I, was looking into your guys' website and stuff, getting ready for our interview tonight, and I had noticed that you guys did have several affiliate programs. You can go ahead and touch on them. The one I'm interested in, because I used to do animal control, and I work with rescues and stuff like that now, and I'd kind of like to touch on the nonprofit fundraiser affiliate program and how that one works. But why don't you go ahead and just kind of touch on your different affiliate programs you have?
Yeah, I'd love to. It's actually my favorite part of our business model, and something that I myself have put a lot of time and effort into. Mike as well. Mike really, we spent many days, kind of working out all the incentive structures that we think work best for the different categories. I think the main two ones that would be of interest to you and your listeners would be the social influencer or the nonprofit fundraiser. And, quite honestly, they're both pretty similar. The general idea is that you can, give your people in your community a 20% discount on our product. And, what you can also do is earn a 20% commission on, all the sales that are generated. And, there's added benefits as well. So we have what's called a tiered system. So it means that you can also introduce other influencers, and, we'll give you 5% on the sales that they generate by bringing in, consumers on their side as well. And we do have additional incentives, so you can actually earn even upwards of 33%. So 20% is really just the base rate, and as your sales go up, we can increase it. So it can go to 25%, to 30%, 33%. So there is actually, a pretty aggressive incentive structure that we've created here, both for social influencers and nonprofit fundraisers. And we created the nonprofit fundraiser mainly because we know there's a lot of pet-centered nonprofits out there that are looking for ways to raise money. Beyond that, even just kids sports teams, things like that. There's lots of opportunities here to do these events where you can get your pet on your bag and do fun. That's the whole thing about get your pet on your bag, which we talk about after too. It's a fun thing, right? And the idea is that
I was going to say, why don't you go ahead and tell us about that? Because I was going to ask you about that program anyway, because it was really cool. Guys, I got a sample bag from these guys to try, and I got my dog's picture on the bag. So it was pretty cool. So go ahead and tell them about it.
Well, for as little as 50 cents a day, our clinically tested all-natural daily health supplements for mobility, support, and healthy joints are available in easy-to-deliver, tasty, freeze-dried, hard chews and soft bits, as I mentioned before. But the best part is that you can have fun and take a pet on your bag by joining our membership program, which includes personalized imaging on all your auto-ship products. So basically, when you sign up on a subscription for a monthly product, and you can also sign up for bi-monthly, or you can just do it one-off. So there's different rates. We have gold, silver, and bronze membership as an example. But when you do sign up for that on a subscription basis, then the personalization is included for free, which means every month you can go in, change the image, and it's really cool. We put a lot of time and effort into developing this app that's on our website, and you can access it from, when you click on shop, you just click on membership, and you can go in and create a custom formulation for your pet, and then you can customize your bag. And we have a lot of really cool templates. So things like Christmas and birthday, Valentine's Day, and Halloween. So whatever's going on at that time of year, we have fun templates that you can use. So you can kind of choose your background and upload your pet image, and overlay that, adjust it, and then we print the bag with that fun image on it, and we send it to you. And another cool thing about joining our membership program is that you do get 25% off of all other purchases. So if you do want to go in and just buy other non-personalized products, or if you want to add more personalized membership, then it's 25% off. So that's pretty good deal once you're able to, for as low as $24.99 a month on our subscription program to get all of that benefit. And certainly, we encourage, if you are an influencer, we encourage you to get, to at least get that opportunity out there to your community, because it is a fun thing that you can do. You can build events around it, do, fun photo shoots and things like that. People their own, it's a really fun novelty. We certainly have done it at shows, Christmas shows. We did one at Christmas time where everyone's getting their pet photos with Santa, and then right across from there was us, where they can then give us that photo, and we can, print the bag, print it on the bag for you, gives them an opportunity to try it out.
Well, that's cool. That's really
mobility,
cool.
Yeah, our mobility shoes and soft bits as well. So, yeah, and then really the difference between being a social influencer and being a fundraiser is really we just provide a little bit better incentive program for the fundraisers. We want to do more for those that are nonprofits, obviously, doing things to help the community. So there's a little bit more of an aggressive incentivization program for that.
Right. And it's awesome that you guys do that, because, the rescues are always in, need of help and raising money and stuff like that. So it's great that you guys offer this avenue for them as well.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about that part of it, because, I just think it's a real win-win. I think people can have fun, they can raise money, and, and it's a way to, build community around what we're doing. Which also is, kind of a cool thing we started to, I'm not sure if you know about Join Paris Pup, but kind of a cool story. So Paris Pup is Mike and Lisa's dog. She's, I'm not sure if you've seen her, she's on quite a bit of our packaging, but she's an amazing dog, and she's really well trained, and she's very energetic, really fun dog. And Mike and Lisa went on this really fun trip around the United States. And we came up with the idea, that Paris was going to, help get dogs mobile across the nation. And mostly Mike, who wrote these really funny scripts kind of for each city that he went to visit. And then he and Lisa filmed them, and they sent them to me, and I edited them. We posted them on social media. So we're on TikTok and YouTube. If you look up Join Paris Pup, you can watch all these really funny videos. They're quite comedic, actually, and they've gotten, some of them have gone quite viral, which has helps expose people to enhanced vet sciences and our get your pen on your bag program. The mobility aspect of our product.
No, I hadn't saw it's Join Paris Pups.
Yeah, Join Paris Pups.
I'll have to notate that in when I put
it's really fun. There's some really fun videos there. It's quite comedic. I think they'll get a kick out of it.
Yeah, that's cool.
I still laugh when I watch it. So. Mike's actually a pretty funny guy. He's got a good sense of humor.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'll have to go take a look at them, but I'll also kind of put it in because I'll put out a thank you on my Facebook page and everything for you guys being on, and I'll include to check out the Join Paris Pups, because that would be pretty cool. I'll have to go look at them. I didn't see it.
Yeah, it's just, we want to have fun doing this, right? So, we're just looking for ways that we can engage with people in a way that's fun. And that's been part of our vision for, building this business.
Right. And that's awesome that you have the vision, to do that. And you got to have fun when you're doing, these kinds of things and these types of businesses and stuff. Otherwise, it gets kind of drags you down, if you don't have fun doing it.
Well, kind of one thing I really like is connecting with people.
Right.
So, it's good to get out there and connect with people. And, it's just any way that we can do that, I think is good, because I think that's really the way of the future more than just, trying to do everything online, right? You got to get out, meet people, and do, engage with people in a fun way.
Well, yeah, and then, when you get out there and you're engaging with people in person, then people can put the face to the product and the business and, relate the two together. So I'm sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure that, helps out when it comes to it, and people choosing to use your product or not as well.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, that's the best kind of marketing, I think, right? Is the in-person connection.
Yep. And so I also... go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh no! If you have more questions or anything like that, I'm happy to keep chatting about it, because I appreciate the opportunity to share.
Yeah, I was just going to ask too. So just in case, because people are going to want to know, what happens if, say, their pet doesn't like your product for some reason? Or do you guys have any kind of a return refund policy in place at all?
Yep. Yeah, we do 30-day money-back guarantee, which is pretty standard across the industry. I mean, if you don't do that, I think that says a lot about your product. But yeah, we definitely offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you're not happy, and for whatever reason, just say I want my money back, and we'll do that.
Okay, cool. I just had to ask, because I'm sure listeners out there would like to know those things, but.
I do think that people will find it's, a really good product, though.
Yeah.
We didn't come this far by having a product that people, we don't get a really positive response from.
Right.
In terms of the flavor, the effectiveness, and really just everything about the product in terms of how we source everything from USDA suppliers from within the United States. We're also a full member of the NASD, that's the National Animal Supplement Council. It's the highest standard within our category. You probably know about it, but
nice.
We've gone through their whole regulatory process. We did that because, as I was saying before, we're not a medicine, because we're not a drug.
Right.
And we're not a food. We're more of a supplement. And that, the NASD really, that's their area of that they oversee. They're the highest standard within the pet health supplement category.
Well, it's good to know that you guys are, a part of that and have gone through their whole process and everything. So that's always good information.
Yeah, and part of being an NASD member is that, you track, like if there are any, adverse events, or if anything that gets reported, you have to report that to them, right? And everything gets tracked in terms of, what their sales are and everything. They go through all your labeling, go through all the standard operating procedures of how the product's made. there's certificates of analysis, everything. So it's quite a rigorous process to go through, but certainly one that people have a lot of trust in because of that.
Right. Well, and that's a thing, when you have a good product and you're able to stand behind it and you're able to, be members of organizations like that and go through those processes and stuff. I think that says a lot about a company that's willing to, go through those things. It says about what your standards are and, like I said, how well you support your product and how much you stand behind it. So I think it's important for, companies and people like you to do those kinds of things, because I think that makes people feel, much more at ease about your product and using it.
Yep. Absolutely. And, we're building the business through relationships too. Like we always say, we want, pet people to work with pet people, and we prefer that, this business model, the direct-to-consumer model, and also, the influencer model, because it is more fun, and, we want the people to make the money, not necessarily the big distributors, big retailers. Right.
Well, why don't you give the listeners out there some more information about where they can find your products, where they can purchase them, and where they can maybe get more information about Enhanced Vet Sciences at?
Sure. Yeah. So you could find us at enhancedvetsciences.com. So that's VET as in veterinary. So enhancedvetsciences.com. And if you want to get your pet on your bag, that's, I think, the most fun way to engage with us. You just click on shop and then on membership, or you can just click on shop and browse through all the different products that you can get on a non-personalized basis. And if you do want to engage with us as an influencer, whether it's a social influencer or a nonprofit fundraiser, you can just click on the affiliate section and then just choose that category. So there's a separate page for the social influencer and one for the nonprofit fundraisers. And also we have created a link and a coupon code for all the Calling All Creatures community. So I think Lori, you'll probably leave that in the notes or something.
Yes.
Below, but we did create a coupon code. It's CAC20, which would give you 20% off on an ongoing basis for any Calling All Creatures community member.
That's awesome. I'm so glad you guys did that for the Calling All Creatures community. That's awesome for you guys to do that. We really appreciate it. So don't forget, guys, if you want to go grab some supplements, use that coupon code CAC for Calling All Creatures 20. So CAC 20. Don't forget that one. And like Reed said, it's ongoing. So it's not just like a one-time use, which is even cooler. So go check out their products and use the code. So I'll tell you guys, I did, like I said, I got a sample bag, and my dogs really enjoyed them. They loved the treats. I mean, they sure didn't turn their noses up to them or anything like that. And I could see some differences because, like I said, my dog has arthritis, and so obviously he has the problems with his joints and stuff, and he's on the medications. But the supplements do help. So I can't say anything negative about them. My dogs liked them, and they did seem to work. So you guys might want to go try them out and see if they can help out your dog's mobility, because I think they work. And CBD is good anyway. And I was going to add one other thing I was going to say is, with CBD, and then you were saying, kind of calming. And a lot of people do use the CBD for calming and stuff like that. So you might even get a little extra added benefit if your dog has still got a little bit of anxieties and stuff. It might help calm them a little bit. So you never know. But well, Reed, we are getting close to the end of the podcast, and I would really like to thank you for coming on tonight and talking about Enhanced Vet Sciences and your mobility products. I think that these things are great. I really hope people, go out and get them and try them out and see if they like them and help their pets' mobility. It was great to learn more about your company, though, and about how you make your products and what all you guys are doing. And I appreciate you being on.
Likewise. It's been a pleasure, and certainly appreciate the opportunity. It's an honor. So thank you as well.
And just to let you know, I'm just going to go ahead and announce my next couple podcasts that are coming up. You are welcome to stay on if you'd like. I know people are busy and have things to do after the podcast, so you're also welcome to jump off if you want. Totally up to you, but I'm going to go ahead and put out the next couple podcasts that's coming up. All right, so everybody, our next podcast, or my next podcast, I should say, is going to be on February 6th, and I am going to have Catherine Carver on with me. Catherine is a photographer, author. She has just put out a book called Abandoned, Chronicling the Journeys of Once Forsaken Dogs. So what Catherine did was go into her local rescues and shelters, and as a photographer, she photographed dogs that were there in the shelter, and then she updated about a year later about what had happened with the dogs, and went back, and if they'd been adopted into homes and stuff, she went back, got permission from the people that adopted, and she went back a year later and photographed the dogs a year later to show the difference between what the dogs looked like in the shelter to what they look like now that they were in homes. I will caution you guys, if you're a little sensitive, in the book there are some dogs that did not make it out, so she did include those outcomes as well, which is very, I applaud her for doing that. It's very responsible. People need to understand that those things happen. And, your dog just doesn't go into a shelter and it's all, fields of flowers and glory and your dog's going to get out and go to a new home. That's not what happens all the time. So, kudos to her for showing both sides of that coin. And it was a really good book. I got it. I've been through it. And so I'm really looking forward to talking with Catherine about her book and about the dogs and stuff in it that she photographed, and then the outcomes they had. So, again, that'll be on February 6th, so I'm looking forward to that one. And then on February 20th, I am going to have Sarah Holmes Bookbinder on with me, and she is going to be teaching us more about raccoons. So I thought this is going to be, raccoons are, we all laugh, they're fun, they can be mean. They probably should never be pets, although I know some people have had them as pets, including my aunt. But anyway, that podcast is actually called Masked and Mischievous, Learning About the Raccoon. So Sarah's going to be on with me on February 20th, and we're going to learn all sorts of really cool things about raccoons and how they live in their habitats and all that kind of good stuff. So I'm kind of excited to talk about raccoons with her. So again, don't forget, February 6th, Abandoned, Chronicling the Journeys of Once Forsaken Dogs with Catherine Carver. And then on the 20th, Masked and Mischievous, Learning About the Raccoons with Sarah Bookbinder. And that is pretty much all I have for you guys tonight. I appreciate you guys listening all the time, and like I've said in previous podcasts, if you have any suggestions or comments, please feel free to leave them on my Facebook page, Calling All Creatures, or, you can email me, callingallcreatures19@gmail.com. Anything you want to do, you can do. And send me any comments, any suggestions. If you want to see a certain guest or certain animals talked about, let me know. I'll try to see if I can get them on. But other than that, I hope you guys all enjoy your weekend this weekend and stay safe and stay out of trouble. And hopefully we'll have you back here in a couple weeks to listen to the next podcast. Good night, everybody.